What if I told you you could be convinced to hurt someone, even kill them, just because a stranger in a lab coat told you to? You'd probably say, no way. I'd never do that, but history and science say otherwise. Because once upon a time, a man named Stanley Milgram proved just how obedient and frighteningly predictable we really are. Welcome to Mind Scoping, where we uncover the darkest corners of human psychology. Today, we're exploring an experiment so disturbing that it still haunts psychologists more than 60 years later. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of the Milgram Experiment, a psychological mirror showing how easily ordinary people can become instruments of harm. The year was 1961, Yale University. A young psychologist wanted to understand one question. Could the horrors of the Holocaust really be explained by obedience? How could so many people follow orders to commit atrocities and still sleep at night? To find out, Milgram recruited volunteers, ordinary men, teachers, engineers, salesmen, people like you and me. They were told they'd be helping with a learning experiment. In one room sat the teacher. In another room, separated by a wall, sat the learner, strapped to a chair with electrodes. The teacher's job was simple. Each time the learner gave a wrong answer, they had to deliver an electric shock, increasing the voltage each time. It started small, 15 volts, just a mild tickle of electricity. The learner got questions wrong. The teacher pressed the button. The man in the white coat, the experimenter, calmly said, "Please continue." The teacher obeyed. 30 volts, 45 volts, 60 volts. Harmless at first, until the screams began. At 150 volts, the learner cried out, "Stop! I can't take the pain." At 180 volts, his screams grew desperate. At 300 volts, he shouted, "I refuse to go on." The teacher hesitated, but the man in the lab coat said firmly, "The experiment requires that you continue." Some participants trembled, others laughed nervously, sweat dripping down their faces. But most obeyed. Experts predicted less than 1% of people would go all the way to 450 volts, a level marked danger, severe shock. But they were wrong. In reality, 65% of participants pressed the final button. 65%, nearly two-thirds, followed orders until the very end. They believed they were killing an innocent man, and they did it anyway, because a man in authority told them to. Milgram uncovered 3 key psychological mechanisms that explain this horrifying obedience. When under authority, people stop seeing themselves as responsible. They see themselves as instruments, agents carrying out someone else's will. Their inner voice of morality goes silent. Responsibility is transferred to the authority figure. Evil rarely begins with one massive act. It starts small, just one harmless decision after another, until it's too late to stop. Every small yes makes the next yes easier. Step by step, people descend into obedience. 3. The power of legitimacy, the lab coat, the clipboard, the university logo. They all signal intelligence, power, and trust. When we believe authority is legitimate, we stop questioning. We obey automatically. These 3 forces together can override our deepest morals. They can make good people do terrible things without ever thinking of themselves as bad. What's even darker is that most participants weren't emotionless. They were deeply distressed. Many cried, stuttered, or begged to stop. One participant said his hands were shaking so badly he thought he'd faint. But when told the experiment must go on, he continued anyway. Their bodies rebelled, their minds obeyed. This is the terrifying gap between feeling wrong and doing right. You might think, that would never happen today, but you'd be wrong. From soldiers following immoral orders, employees staying silent in corrupt corporations, or even people online following toxic influencers without thinking, the same mechanism repeats. The transfer of responsibility, the surrender of conscience, the illusion that someone else is in charge. History doesn't repeat because we forget it. It repeats because we don't recognize the psychology behind it. So ask yourself honestly, if you were in that room, hearing the screams through the wall, feeling the weight of your own hand hovering over the button, would you stop? Or would you press it one more time because someone told you to? The truth is, we all like to believe we're the exception. But psychology suggests most of us aren't. Milgram's experiment wasn't just about obedience. It was a warning, a mirror held up to humanity. Awareness is the only shield, because once you understand how obedience works, you can recognize when it's manipulating you. If this experiment disturbed you, but also fascinated you, subscribe to Mind Scoping. We explore real experiments that expose the hidden forces